I sure hope that you're not broke and everything's been running good.
The 10-year anniversary of being PuppyCat's pilot has passed, and I've been thinking about the show since. Before Rival Boss, this was the indie show I can point to prove that animation can do just fine on the internet, as it does on television. Well, that is, until it got funded on Kickstarter. Between 2013 and 2023 lies the tumultuous release of this beloved series that I wanted to talk about for quite a while. Everything from delays, leaks, to even cost-cutting measures, it's a miracle the show ever released. So to celebrate 10 years, I wanted to dive into the cutely aesthetic world that Frederator helped bring to life. Hello, I'm Ryan. And this is Being PuppyCat, 10 years later. The creator Natasha Herself was born June 18, 1986 in Florida. Some of her early inspirations came from anime, manga, and even Garfield. And let me tell you, she really likes Garfield.
A lot of the reasons I like Garfield maybe stem from how mysterious the world was to me at the time. I didn't like to go out and interact with people when I was young. I avoided it as much as possible. So the world was kind of scary. I didn't know why people did things. But with Garfield, I was like, I knew why he did anything. He was either tired, annoyed, or hungry. And also, like, they stayed in the house so much. They rarely went out. And I felt kind of like that spoke to the young hermit in me. Maybe.
Lucky for her, she even got to meet Jim Davis himself, which is a rite of passage in the pilgrimage to being a true Garfield fan, something I strive to do one day. Some of her early works are posted on LiveJournal, where she met Palinson Ward. You might know him from The Midnight Gospel, and of course, Adventure Time. While attending the University of Arizona, Ward convinced her to work on Adventure Time, to which she did for 5 whole seasons. She was actually the one who created the gender-swapped versions of Finn and Jake, creating Fiona and Cake. In a tweet, she cited that she originally drew it for an Anon on 4chan. Ooh! The characters would later become a hit, leading her to partially write and illustrate the Boom Comic Series of the titular characters. They would later get their own spin-off series on the streaming service Max in fall of 2023, though her involvement in the show was pretty unknown at this time. But while she was working on Adventure Time, an idea was rattling around in her mind that she wanted to create. This would be the infamous Being PuppyCat.
A cat? Maybe a dog? Huh.
Adventure Time was produced by Frederator and Cartoon Network Studios, the former having worked with Nick, Teletoon, Netflix, and more recently, BuzzFeed. So for connections to Eric Coldman, she got the pitch to Nickelodeon. While the initial pitch wasn't well received, she had gotten a call saying a woman from New York liked it, and they wanted to make a short. So under 2 cool cartoons and the Cartoon Hangover YouTube channel, they released Being PuppyCat Part 1, July 11, 2013. While many people recognize the pilot releasing August 6th, the original intention was to split the pilot up into 2 shorts. The second part was released the exact same day as the full release, August 6th, due to the popularity of Part 1. And this wouldn't be the end of the odd release schedule for the series in terms of splitting up parts, so keep this in mind for later. Speaking of odd releases, the pilot even aired on Nintendo Video? Oh.
I'm such a loser.
The pilot is an origin story for the titular characters who find themselves doing odd jobs for money, with mysterious backgrounds yet to be revealed. With such an open-ended logline, there was a lot to explore, and the fans were hooked, me included. So much so that Cartoon Hangover latched onto the characters as pseudo-mascots for the channel, alongside Bravest Warriors. If you don't remember the channel as a whole, they tried being a place for indie animation, in which they would fund creators' shorts, then make more if people really liked them. While they would definitely be hit or miss, 10 years ago was a good place for a lot of eyes to see your project, but this is not to be confused with ADHD, which is a Fox production and was not indie focused. So keep your mind in SD. Only. So going back to 2013, several news websites reported the success of the show. Having all this attention, Frederator knew they had a hit, so they started a Kickstarter for Being PuppyCat the series, asking for 600,000 USD.
I actually didn't choose to go to Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is run completely by Frederator. My reason for working for Frederator was because they let me have total control over my shorts, which I'm really happy about. They didn't let me use swears though. I don't think Being PuppyCat really pushes any boundaries regarding like standards and practices stuff, but I do think the idea of a slow, I don't know any other phrase than awkwardly paced show is not something other studios would have been willing to try out.
Crap, I ran out of food money. Relax, man. I'm not gonna eat your food.
They wanted to create television quality animation and justify their costs as such. By the end of it, they're able to amass 872,133 USD. Whoosh! And they're able to create 10 episodes at this amount of money. Though the term episode is very loose, but we'll get into that later. Looking towards the rewards, I would say there was probably too many. So many that I suspect a lot of the money went to actually creating the products and shipping them out rather than the animation. This will include thank you cards, a DVD, physical PuppyCat membership card, first issue of the comic, a poster card size mini print of the first issue, a shirt, another mini print, a first issue sketch cover, a custom drawing by Natasha herself, a 15-inch plush of PuppyCat, physical production drawings from the show, all of the PuppyCat comics for 2 years, and a shirt from every episode. So key tip for people doing Kickstarters for the first time, don't do this. Frederator had the support of manufacturing companies to make and ship the stuff, so for the normal person, it's best not to over-deliver. But be thankful they made their goal, cause holy smokes, that was a lot of shit to send out to people. Some people even noting to this day, they still haven't gotten some of the rewards. 10 years ago, when I first read they were aiming for television quality animation, I was imagining indie animators working on the series to bring it to life. It brought me joy knowing that these indie animators were able to bring something like this to the world, however, that was never the case, mostly. Looking back to the Kickstarter itself, they clarified that all the animation would be done by an overseas company, later to be revealed as Dongwoo Animation. I mean, they're right, as it is television quality animation, as they literally hired the people who worked on Ben 10, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and the Justice League. It's not a bad thing that was commissioned, as Otaku Versus also works with an overseas studio, but it just feels more like a standard show production under the guise of an indie production because it was funded by the internet, despite Frederator being owned by a larger company, which is owned by a larger company, which is owned by a larger company. The companies are no strangers to using fundraising sites to test the waters of their audience, like Energizer did with their big battery phone. Though it failed, I would have bought one. It's a big battery. Though this did mean the series was animated on paper, and if you check eBay, you might be able to find some of the drawings on there, as well as from Bravest Warriors. But with the show being funded, when would the audience expect the episodes? Alright, well, this is the part where I talk about the issues of releasing, like, major issues. Between 2016 and 2023 existed a streaming service called VRV that touted itself as original animation for internet fans. It was launched by AT&T and the Sherman Group, with initial partners including Rooster Teeth, CISO, and Frederator's cartoon Hangover. Now the Kickstarter's from 2013, and VRV started in 2016, so why am I bringing this up? Well, while the first 4 episodes were released on YouTube in 2014, you had to sign up to VRV to watch the rest of the episodes. After 2 years of no being PuppyCat, they slowly rolled out episodes on November 11th and November 28th, 2016. When Frederator announced the remainder of the episodes released on the streaming service, a lot of comments complained about it. Like, a lot. While you could watch the episodes in the service for free, the main issue was that it was only available in the United States. So if you're a fan of the show, you'd either have to use a VPN and hope the website worked with it, or pirate the show. More glaring issue was for the backers. While episodes 5 and 6 were released early for them in 2015, really not the first 4, for some reason, the team never posted them early for episodes 7 through 10, meaning if you lived in Canada, Mexico, or any other country and you gave them your money, you'd still have to pirate the show or use a VPN. At the time, people discussed their issues with the app itself, knowing that it was buggy or just not stable at all to use. The community manager on Being PuppyCat Tumblr tried answering questions for the fans about their region lock, and they did try to pitch their streaming services, but VRV was only their best bet. Then all this talk about episodes, I must clarify that while there are 10 episodes labeled, there are actually 4 episodes split into chunks. Being on top of waiting for episodes overall, you had to wait for the conclusion for the one you're already watching. There are very few and far between reasons as to why this was, so be it a corporate decision, scheduling, VRV people doing something? Because for the YouTube uploads, the episodes were already done. Like, they were already on VRV at the time. That's a lot of extra weight, you know? Luckily, for a way to tie over fans, we had Kaboom releasing 11 episodes, or comics, with the show. This was between May 14th, 2014 and April 20th, 2016. Well, there were supposed to be 16 comics, but the other 5 were cancelled. Natasha eventually said that the issues had never been to be released, as per the Lost Media Wiki. This would be less of a pure Natasha work, as Garrett Jackson and Madeline Flores also helped with the writing. In a 2013 interview, Natasha said that she would have liked to continue the comics if the animated series didn't pan out. During this time, a lot of merch would be released for the show, well, excluding the Kickstarter back stuff. Course. You had a cookbook for the VRV series released August 2nd, 2016, but it's since been discontinued, and the only way to get it is through scalpers on eBay. So to avoid that, you can always download the PDF floating on the internet. To gatekeep recipes like this is a silly thing to do, especially when the initial company literally doesn't sell the product anymore. Like, how am I supposed to bake this cookie? As for other merch, Stash Riot and For Fans by Fans had what you expect, and then some. You had the standard shirts, pins, vinyl blind boxes, and plushes. However, they also had aprons and a sword. The former being from the job B used to work at, and the latter being the sword from the first 10 job she had. So being PuppyCat fans are eating pretty good. Well, merch-wise, I suppose. So with all the waiting, region locking, and lack of solid episodes, I was surprised when I first heard about a season 2. Well, I must say Season 2 is a relative term for me and PuppyCat, but let me explain what I mean by that. In 2018, Cartoon Hangover announced Lazy in Space, citing that it will release in 2019. Frederator later confirmed it would be releasing on VRV, and was promoted as the second season of the show, meaning VRV Season 1 would soon be canon. Natasha had moved to Tokyo, Japan to work on the series alongside OOM, Oriental Light and Magic being the new animation studio animating on the show. He made other works from literally all of the Pokemon movies. All of them ever.
We are delighted to host Natasha and her team in Tokyo to work alongside our crew for the duration of the production. Being able to capture the exact unique look and feel of the series that she wants to create is a pleasure. It isn't often that we get to work so closely with such a visionary US creator. We are all enjoying the cross-cultural experience.
The series was officially completed in 2019, however it had yet to be released on VRV. Many people at the time were questioning this, as Frederator themselves weren't giving any answers. And this is despite the fact that episode Little Fingers debuted at the Ottawa International Animation Festival in 2019, there was still no word on official release. As it turned out, there's a lot of legal issues that caused the delay of the series. By 2019, VRV had a lot of partners leave the service, and the parent company AT&T wanted to focus more on the new streaming service, HBO Max. A year later in 2020, on Fred Seibert's Vimeo page, all the episodes leaked, all of them. This was caused by him not privating the videos, as he most likely used it as a way to pitch the shows to other streaming services. You know, like sending them the link, or in a pitch presentation going, let me pull up my Vimeo and show you this episode. While the episodes were swiftly removed, a lot of pirates found the copies and uploaded them early. These would be the initial 13 episodes commissioned by Frederator. Seibert would later step down to the CEO position of Frederator, though he would remain as the executive producer for these current projects. October 2020, Netflix announced that they released the series in 2022, which was odd considering they already finished the series, like we saw it leaked before. One thing I have to re-mention is that Lazy in Space was meant to be a season 2, meaning if it had released on VRV, the Kickstarter series would still be viewable. Since Netflix didn't purchase the streaming rights for that season, they were in a bit of an eggplant. So they commissioned 3 new episodes to make Lazy in Space a reboot rather than continuation. Instead of 3 new episodes, reincorporated elements from the Kickstarter series in a very rushed manner. The show's production manager talked about this on his Reddit account.
When the show got a pickup from Netflix, they wanted 3 episodes to explain the beginning of the story to people who hadn't seen the web cartoons. Nat, Hans, and Ephraim began to work on that right away, but it took a little over a year for them to do those 3 half hours. The episodes were finished late last year, but there is a lot to do to prepare a show to air on Netflix. They had to do dubs in many languages, create subtitles, and a publicity campaign. VRV didn't hold the shows back. It just took some time to get the right network deal and produce the 3 introductory episodes.
Interesting enough, the animation for episodes 1 through 3 look vastly different. This is due to the team having time to experiment with the show to fully achieve the look that Natasha wanted. The same production manager is quoted as saying,
Same studio, OLM. Same crew, too. There's an old saying in animation. By the time I finished the show, I realized how I should have done it all along.
September 6, 2022, Lazy in Space would finally release after 4 years since the announcement, and 9 years after the original run. It's wild to think that an internet-based series would take nearly 10 years to finish one whole season. With all the talk about the history, we need to actually talk about the show itself and what's in it.
My main concern was to avoid mean-spirited humor. I wanted to try and make something that was nice, with good intentions. But other than that, there's a lot of early 90s kid anime influences.
Spoiler warning for those who haven't watched the Netflix series yet, as we're definitely going to get into that. You know, the lore. To talk about the structuring, the way Natasha writes scenes helps give the ethereal feel to the show. In 2021 Discord interview, she talks about this.
I like to write around moments. I know that that's not really kind of encouraged too much in television, but I like to think of very specific kind of scenes that I would like to hit, and then I'll build a story around it. It kind of makes it feel a little bit discombobulated and dreamy, but I like that effect personally.
I mentioned this as between the 2 series, Bee and PuppyCat is not plot heavy. Oh, before we get into it, there's technically 2 different timelines in the Bee and PuppyCat series. The first canon being that of VRV, and episodes 4 through 16 on Netflix, or the full 16 episodes on Netflix by themselves. There are very subtle changes that happen between, so when talking about the plot, I do want to clarify what I'm talking about. So Universe 1 is the former, and Universe 2 is the latter. The series overall revolves around Bee and her mysterious dog-cat thing named PuppyCat. They solve odd jobs around the universe using Tempbot.
Each job assignment requires that you wear a uniform that best suits the job on the planet. After you put on your uniform, off you go.
Oh no.
Her good friend Deckard is a cook who wants to become a baker, however he's just completely terrible at it.
You're baking again.
Please help me.
Later on, he gets an acceptance letter to college that brings him off the island, the place in which Bee, PuppyCat, Deckard, and the Wizard family, his siblings, live. The relationship between Bee and Deckard is weird, as in the VRV episodes, it's shown that Deckard likes Bee, and that Bee has some feelings towards him. However, in the Netflix episodes, it becomes a bit messy. A flashback showing that Bee knew Deckard as a child, with reference from Cass, the only sister of the Wizard family, that Bee seemingly never ages. Continuing on with Crispin, a brother of Deckard, he also has romantic interest in Bee, though Bee herself doesn't seem to understand romance, which could imply she's on the aromantic spectrum, something that could be seen in the later episodes, just not the VRV ones, though I'm not sure if this is intentional or unintentional. By the note of LGBT themes, Natasha confirmed that Hal was trans, though it's never brought up in the series. Between the two versions, Bee is skinnier in the Netflix series, while she is chubby in the VRV one. In Universe 1, maybe she lost some weight, or Universe 2 is more accurate in how Bee's supposed to look? I'm not sure. When I talk about the lore of the show, it is sprinkled in more than anything. When watching the Netflix series, I kept thinking about Deckard and his college trip, though we rarely got stories about him. As for Bee and PuppyCat's story, that is even more the case. In the VRV season episode 4, it's revealed that Bee is a cyborg. In the Netflix season 1 episode 3, the same is revealed. It is alluded to that she was sick growing up, causing her dad to create the cyborg shell, and they've even created the dad box that is able to repair any physical damage to her. It even sings her happy birthday every year and gives her a small piece of candy. Though that's pretty much it in terms of the lore of her being a cyborg. Yeah. I'm serious. A lot of what the show talks about feels as if there's another half of the show missing. Despite giving the audience 16 episodes on Netflix, a lot of it feels hindered by the idea the creator needs more time to actually finish the story they would like to tell. And on the note of birthdays, there are 4 birthday-based episodes in the Netflix series. Twice for Bees, 1 for Crispin, and 1 for Howl. An issue I'll get into is the fact there's an ensemble cast of characters, as we sometimes have side stories focusing on them rather than the main duo being PuppyCat themselves. This would be fine if they had more episodes or focused more on the lore, but they really didn't. For PuppyCat, his form isn't really what he is. He's known as a space outlaw who fell in love with the daughter of the Space King. Wanting to run away, she agrees only for the last moment to betray him. Surrounded by the warlocks, he's turned into a monster caused by magical rage, that form being PuppyCat, of course. And that's pretty much it for his backstory. We don't see the king or the daughter at all. While we do have flashbacks, they only really add more questions to the pile than we already had. I'd recently rewatched the entire show, the pilot's VRV and Netflix series, and was seemingly aggravated regarding the lack of focus it had on the plot. It was as if the show wanted to be slice of life / monster of the week, but also want to have deeper lore one to explore. What results is a show that is more style than substance, or rather a series that is afraid to show all the cards for fear that the drowsy afternoons would end one day. As an aside, I'd spoken with someone about their animated pilot, as they had worked on the idea for quite a few years. Nearing completion of the pilot, I had told them they should think about what would come next, or what finalized arc they would like to tell. While we had come up with ideas and plot lines, it was as if they were uncertain where they wanted to go. Pushing off the ideas, if not thinking about it, would eventually resolve itself. I'd gotten a lot of these feelings when watching Bee and PuppyCat, that if this was to be the sequel to the VRV series or standalone concept, it cannot be either or in a truest of sense. From a story standpoint, you have a lot of puzzle pieces that fit together, and to realize the pieces you have connected are on opposite sides of the board. Perhaps if the show had gotten more episodes, a lot of the issues would be mitigated. I mean, like, Bravest Warriors got 52 episodes on the same platform as Bee and PuppyCat. Like, someone at Frederator really liked that show. Going back to Bee and PuppyCat, to have their relaxing episodes and nothing happens, I can't see working. But unfortunately for the team, they're given the amount that they were, and that is truly a shame.
Oh, this. Guess there's a lot of stuff we don't know about each other.
What isn't a shame is the rest of the show. The visuals, voice acting, especially music, tie it pretty well together. And I can describe the show in 4 different styles. The pilot, the VRV series, the Netflix episodes 4 through 16, and Netflix episodes 1 through 3. What you see here is an evolution of the style that can only happen when the creators are able to experiment. The 3 main artists, being Natasha Herself, Efren Ferras, and Hans Zing, really shine in the first 3 episodes. For the first 3 episodes on Netflix, this is what I can point to and say, now that's Western anime. Partially due to the overseas animators' use of that style, but also in the chibi designs, movements, and lip syncing that they have. On the latter, the characters don't have a lot of varying mouth movements, but rather enough shades to articulate what they want to say. For movements, the characters often move into place and talk, rather than talk and move into place. There's more of an anime way of animating, I suppose. Lastly, for the chibi style is something that couldn't be achieved if it was digitally rigged. As for both the VRV and Netflix series, they're animated on paper and inked digitally. As episodes 4 through 16, the chibi style is not there anymore, in favor of more human-like proportions. This leads to a jarring watch if you don't know anything about the production. For the VRV series, aside from the proportions of Bee herself, it could be seen as anime-inspired rather than anime-like. This goes for the use of camera angles and stylization. The colors are flatter from the VRV series, as opposed to Netflix's more vibrant and glowy, well, colors. It's as if they turned up the contrast and blurred a little, as to not make it feel as sharp as the former series is. For line work in the VRV series, they're mostly just black lines. But as for the Netflix one, they use different hues and saturations to make it feel more in tune for the setting they're trying to achieve. This being beautifufully done in the temp job worlds, of course. A consistent art theme I notice is the love of turtles and eggplants in the show. That and clown stuff. Course. This is paired with the music itself, created by Baffs or Will Weisenfeld. You're actually listening to some of it right now in the background, modified, of course, for YouTube copyright. It's a mix of bass lines, synth keyboard, and light drums that give it a calming attitude. It's also sometimes a mix of pianos and chimes that give it a nostalgic feeling, despite being set relatively in the modern age. The use of flat screens, VHS tapes, and tons of buttons really muddies the timeline, though that's not really of importance, since I'm talking about the music right now. The original tracks were released on iTunes back in the day, but it wasn't until July 2023 that all the music by Baffs release. And with more modern streaming services, you can better appreciate the songs at a higher bitrate. As for the voice cast, they have a lot of interesting characters. Within the pilots, Tom Kenny voices the temp agent, as well as the Ladybug. As for the VRV series, Stephen Root of Barry fame voices the farmer. Most interesting is the fact that Tommy Wiseau voices the Donut Boss in The Donut Planet. However, he doesn't reprise his role for the Netflix series.
So what do you need us to do?
I need you to manage my business while I'm using the bathroom. Just make sure my worker is doing his job right, please. I don't trust him to be alone. He's a little bit craziness, huh?
Due to the first 3 episodes of the Netflix show being recorded later, they had to pitch shift down Alexander James Rodriguez's Cardamom voice, making him sound a bit off.
Well, maybe you can at least come to work with me to do my work today. Sorry, puppies, you can't come.
I'm going to go back to bed. Tell PuppyCat to visit. Like, an order. Not a request, please.
The voice actor for PuppyCat is that of the Vocaloid Oliver, and his voice doesn't change in the dubs, which is pretty fun, considering, well, it's just gibberish. Aaron Hansen voices Wesley as well as Old Man in the Netflix series, as well as some characters in the VRV one. For the Warlock, Stephen Root returns, as well as Eric Baza, but also Natalie Wynn of ContraPoints fame. That's quite a star-studded cast.
There's no more holes.
What? Yes, there are.
I'll supervise. Take us to the guy whose name I forgot.
As for recurring members, Alan Rachel, Ashley Birch, Alexander, and Kent Osborne stayed as Bee, Cass, Cardamom, as well as Deckard through the series' 9-year run. That's quite impressive to say the least. Like, once you find the voice actor, you found the voice actor. In terms of writing outside the plot, there really aren't any jokes to be heard, but rather funny faces or ways in which the characters say said words. However, it is to note that in the Netflix series, the characters do cuss for some reason. I bring this up as it does sometimes take me out of the cutesy aesthetic the world has brought up into this point. Part of the issue for the show initially when pitching was that a lot of networks didn't know where to put it. Having pitched the Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, both didn't see how it could fit their branding. Perhaps it's the case of High Guardian Spice, where they had to add some bad words to avoid a purely PG or even TVY7 rating, but who knows. Other than that, a lot of what is shown pieces together a truly magical experience I've yet to see replicated again in animation.
Oh, here it is. Are you ready?
Apart from my gripes about the plot, the show in of itself is a marvel for the atmosphere and visuals alone. To recommend it to someone is an easy thing to do, just as long as you don't care about the characters themselves. But rather, the characters themselves can take you. In saying this, that was the end of the show. Or at least, for now. In terms of Natasha today, she doesn't have a lot of industry projects. Well, apart from working on the anime Cannon Busters in 2019 and the writers team. As for indie work, she was part of the X-Mag Anthology in 2021 as a guest artist, and also has a skateboarding company called Twins. She designs the boards and Jason Carroll produces them. She has a Ko-Fi page where she sells them, alongside pins and formerly some hand-drawn art. One of the best ones being PuppyCat pissing like Calvin, you know, in that bootleg art, something the character would definitely do in the show. Residing in New Jersey, she did a small art project where she made a bee-book that had nice little drawings in a plastic bag that she hid around her state. She still draws to this day, even creating a sexy Deckard drawing, to all the fans swooning. January 4th, 2023, Toho International acquired 50% ownership in 3 animated series from Frederator, these being Bee and PuppyCat, Bravest Warriors, and Catbug, the latter being a spin-off of Bravest Warriors. Quote,
"At Frederator, our mission is to foster the creativity of content creators and give them a platform to get their projects seen. We are thrilled that our productions, Bravest Warriors, Bee and PuppyCat, and Catbug, are now attracting a global audience." series. Our partnership with Toho will allow us to further expand the reach of these two series, both in terms of distribution and upcoming consumer products. This new deal aligns with our long-term strategy as we build a more effective system for distribution and licensing our own IP. We have seen the tremendous global popularity of Bravest Warriors and the growth of Bee and PuppyCat, as well as the growing popularity of Catbug, along with the overall Western anime genre.
Ever since the partnership, we have seen some things release, including a U2's officially licensed plush and vinyl figures of Bee and PuppyCat, as well as the music itself being distributed by Toho International. As for another season, we await to see if there's anything more. Over the course of 10 years, the series had a tough time with releases, and even being able to tell the story that wants to tell. At the start of this, Natasha was 27, and now she is 37. The characters she once drew were not the same characters she drew all that time ago. This can be noted in the major differences between the VRV Netflix shows, for better or for worse. I'm glad the show finally released with a mostly complete story, even if it took nearly 10 years to do so. For all that it's worth, Bee and PuppyCat can be remembered as a dreamlike show to watch on the weekends or a rainy day, watching something with low conflict that could put one at ease. As much as I would prefer to have a more plot-focused show, it did achieve one thing with the visuals, characters, storytelling, and especially music. No matter the sadness around you, you can have tranquility and peace with oneself. Hey, and thanks for watching, and be sure to support me on everything. Literally, everything. My Twitters, YouTube channels, and Patreon. Also check out my animated podcast, Soul JJ. Ooh, we're moving.
Ooh, I didn't know you would be here today. I thought this was just me.
I mean, I checked the schedule, and...
No, I'm looking at it right now, buddy. You said that you weren't gonna... You said you weren't gonna be here.
We're gonna, like, start off like that. Until next time, keep on drawing, and don't forget to have fantastic.